Hello, this is Sam Hill from Success in Me and your host for How I Came Up. This week we have a very special guest, Alexis Beltre. Alexis is a teacher, a facilitator, and a lover and supporter of the movement of financial literacy. We can't wait for you to hear his story. Now let's get to it. This is How I Came Up.
Alexis Beltre, and I'm coming to you. I'm in Buffalo now, but grew up in the Bronx, South Bronx actually, NYC, baby. Coming up was interesting, if I may say the least. I didn't have much. I grew up in a household where it was just mom and quite a few of us in the household, about 5 siblings. And I remember something J. Cole said that really stuck with me because I didn't have anything. I had enough to eat, had a roof over my head, but anything other than that, it was hand-me-downs. But I remember you look around you, you think everything around you is poor, you don't have much, but you don't realize that the person down the block, when you see their situation, you're really blessed. But growing up was fun. A lot of kids growing around. I don't regret anything as it relates to my childhood. Now, as I tell people that didn't grow up in that area, they cringe a little bit, but I love my childhood in the Bronx. There was this big rock in a park that faced right across the street from me in the South Bronx in St. Mary's Park, and we used to use it as a slide. Now, there were parks around, but it was as far as my mom would let me go because it was an eye view of where she could see me, so that was my playground for a little bit. But there was tons of kids. It was a building with like 6 stories. I don't know, maybe 200 families per building. And I couldn't wait to get out of the house. You couldn't keep me in there. I think the parents had a rule that you couldn't really get outside because she wouldn't let me go outside till like 11 o'clock. But once I got out there, I was out there till those street lights came on. I was blessed growing up. My mom, I'm not sure how she did it. You know, she rubbed 2 pennies together and she got me, my brother, and my sister through Catholic school, at least through 8th grade. And it was interesting growing up in Catholic school and then going to a public school, the level of education that was different. High school was a breeze to me because I guess the bare minimum in Catholic school was a lot higher than public school. But not only that, but the level of discipline. I used to walk home and sometimes we used to cross public school kids. And I don't know what their backgrounds are. Them kids were crazy. So I tried to avoid them as best as I could. Many of my friends went to public school, so I ran into them too. But it was a level of appreciation that I think really just gave me a step up, coming up from pretty much nothing. And one of the biggest lessons that I guess I can learn as I was a kid was to know when to be seen and when not to be seen, or when to speak and when not to speak, because situations can go sideways real quick. And I just learned how to become invisible when I needed to. It was a challenge growing up though, doing that, because I still have some of that, and I call it humility, or maybe it's a little bit of sense of fear. And in this day and age, in this world, if you're not heard, you're left behind. But after I left St. Anselm's, I went to graphic communication arts, man. We call it graphic arts. And when I tell you it was a culture shock, every lunch period, somebody got knocked out. And again, you know, I used my invisibility power where I didn't hide. I hung out with people, but I knew when to be loud, when not to be loud. I knew when to be cool and fashionable and when not to be too fashionable. I learned when not to be mocked victim, but graphic arts was this building that if you look at it from outside, it looks like a straight jail, 7 stories high, gated all around. And I remember having a clear conversation. It was like onboarding for high school because a couple of my friends went there. And, they used to just tell me, look, we're going to go to school every day. Ain't got to worry about much. We'll show you how to get there. If you need anything, just let us know. But I remember this one kid, he told me, and he was clear about it. He was like, make sure don't let anybody go into your pockets. And in my head, I was like, it's strange. I'm going to school, I'm going to learn something, or maybe just meet some new friends, or maybe meet some girls or whatever. And one of the clear things he says, don't let anybody go in your pockets. But, it stuck with me. And again, like I said, I was fortunate where I had some friends that went there before me, and they kind of just laid the way. And again, I had some discernment. I don't know where I got it, but again, I used my invisibility power, and just to make sure that I was cool with people, but I wasn't overly cool with people. And after I got out of high school, that's how I came out here. Came out to Western New York. Got my accounting degree in Niagara University. And it was interesting how I got to it. Real random, because when I was graduating out of high school, I had one goal: graduate. Fortunately for me, I had a sister who had the right head on her shoulders. And once I told her my game plan, as sisters would do, she was like, absolutely not. You're not staying around here, because you're going to end up hanging out with your knucklehead friends. You're not going to become anything. So she just said, pick a school and I'll do everything in my power to get you in. And I talked to one of my best friends, Case, and, he was in another school. And I was like, look, we used to hang out every day. And I was like, look, man, looks like we're going to college. So I don't know where you're going, but I don't have a clue because I even looked into this. And he was like, we got to go to Niagara University. I saw the cassette tape, and Niagara University is dope. I was like, okay. So I told my sister, this is where I think is a good idea to go. And so I'm not sure what magic she did, but she filled out some paperwork, and she got me into a placement test, and I took the placement test. And not only did she get me in, but she got me into something called EOP, and Education Opportunity Program. I think it was HEOP, or for that school, it was NUOP, and for Niagara University Opportunity Program. And they got me in. And so not only was I in, but I got an amazing financial aid package once I got there. And fortunately for me at the time, my brother was living in Buffalo. So I was able to have some type of family. Me and Case went to Niagara together. And once again, here's another culture shock. I had to take a step back and really learn the lay of the land. But not just that, but in Niagara, it was a little different. It was even more different than it was in Buffalo. Buffalo was a little more populated. They stayed open a little more. It had a little more city feel. But I called it a wilderness, where, again, things closed early and you couldn't really walk to anywhere. I walked to everywhere when I was in New York City. And you go to Niagara University, and I think the closest store was maybe a half an hour away. And, you hear crickets chirping. I'm crossing railroad tracks like I'm in Stand By Me. I was concerned about my life going through here, thinking Jason's going to pop out of anywhere. But I learned to love it. And you can't get me out of here. Buffalo's home for me now. And with that preparation, that fear kind of sets aside. And once that ball starts rolling, you just simply go in and talking to everybody. So if that's you out there as an introvert, just sit back and prepare yourself for that conversation and know that they want to hear what you want to say. So my degree was in accounting, and I did that for a number of years, 8 exactly. But halfway through that journey, I learned that I did not like accounting. If I learned anything, that you're going to find many mentors in your life. And this particular mentor, good friend and mentor, really grabbed me, and I did some project with her. And she said, look, there's something in you that they're not seeing in what you're currently doing. And I would love to see if there's some other opportunities that we can work on. But if you need my help, feel free to reach out. And that was another lesson that I learned, that opportunities aren't going to be given to you. You're going to have to seek out for them. And in my frustration, I reached out to her and said, look, I don't know what I want, but I know it isn't this. So whatever opportunities that you may have available, or rather, maybe you can just guide me in that process to kind of figure out what it is I want to do. And she set up some time with me to have some coffee, and that was supposed to be a half an hour, ended up being 10 minutes because that's all she had on her calendar, but I took it. And what I thought would be let me give you a pathway, let me give you some guidance. She was like, look, I got 2 job opportunities. I want you to take a look at them. I like what you do. I can't give them to you, but at least I'll open the interview for you. And it then told me that not just mentoring, but really networking with the right people and really showing yourself in different areas. Other people will tell your story and listen to your story, even if those that are in your closest circle, whether it's in your career or at home, might not be able to hear your passion. So in that, I made a 180 from what the world told me I needed to do. Go to college, get a degree, and work. But even if I took that journey, nobody guided me in that journey to speak about passion, to speak about those things that I love. Even though you were good at it, doesn't mean you want to do it for the rest of your life. So I took a 180 and I ended up managing people. I managed an account for a number of years. And in that, again, I enjoyed the people that I worked with. I liked some of what I did, but I didn't love all of what I did. And I got to the point where I had to ask myself, again, what is it that you love about this job? And in that, I had an element of coaching and teaching again, and that just jumped out again. And through some, again, here's that term again, mentoring, a good friend of mine, you may know him well, Sam Hill. People call him my uncle, so I call him Uncle Sam, even though he ain't taking my taxes. But, in multiple conversations with Sam, it's like I followed his journey. I left accounting, I was in operations under a mentor of his as well. And then he jumped into something called learning and performance. And in some conversations, he connected me with somebody that heard my story and understood my journey. And I've been teaching financial literacy for over 10 years. Now, what I'm going to be teaching you, some of it is book smarts, but a lot of it is experiences. It's time that I bumped my head, bruised my knee, stubbed my toe, financially, that is. And what I'm hoping is that I can share everything that I've learned about money that I wish I would have knew when I was younger. Coming up, this term mentor just keeps ringing in my head as I grew out. So as I came out, I knew I wasn't going back. I love the Bronx. I love New York City. I love everything that it gave me, every lesson that it taught me. But I knew I never wanted to live there again. But I wanted to give back. And when giving back, I didn't want to just donate because I didn't want to give somebody a fish. I wanted to teach them how to fish. So I asked myself, what do I do good? And what was I missing growing up? And how do I kind of partner those together to be able to hope that maybe some of the cats coming up didn't kind of bump their head or bruise their knees like I did. And that's where my passion for financial literacy came on. Growing up, again, I had nothing. And I don't know how my mom did it, but the one thing she was good at, she budgeted herself out of poverty. With the little bit that she gave, I don't remember ever I was hungry. I don't ever remember seeing final notices. Even there was a time where my brother got into a little bit of trouble, as we know. And when I say a little bit, I'm being light. He got into a lot of trouble, and it jeopardized the finances coming into the house. And through that, kind of her whole life prepared for that, we were able to still get out of it. And she kind of put that in me that, save for that rainy day because it's going to happen. And I saw people who made more than what my mom did, but struggled a lot more than what I did. And so I wanted to make sure that if I can do anything, I could give that back. So as these kids come up and they either see that struggle, or maybe they're not seeing that struggle. Maybe they came out of the struggle, but have no idea what to do with this money coming in. I want them to skip that learning the hard way piece. And that's where financial literacy comes in. So there's one thing that my mom instilled in me, and she had a hierarchy, and people knew that hierarchy. It was her faith, her family, and then everything else. She even put herself after the first two, and she would give everything. She wanted to make sure that her faith was there. She gave everything into her family, and then if anything was left, she gave it to herself. I would probably balance that a little bit and have her enjoy herself a little bit more. But that instills in everything that I am today. And I know that if anything's off in my life, like I feel off-centered, is that my hierarchy's off. Is that either I'm not spending enough time in my faith, either there's something off in my family dynamic, or if I'm not investing in myself enough. And when it comes to my family, they come first. And when I'm choosing my time, while I choose it very carefully, and my family understands that there's time for work and there's time for play, boy, do I make sure that I have time for my son to see and hear me. And I'm always baffled. As growing up, there were a lot of either non-present dads, or as I like to call my father, an absentee landlord. He would show up every so often. That I don't understand how you can see your kids and not want to be with them. I sometimes have to tell myself, Lex, you got to work right now. I know you want to keep playing with Zeke, but you got to work right now. And sometimes I'll sacrifice myself. I'll be involved in a project and he'll come in and I'll say, hey, Dad, can you come play with me? And I'll take a deep breath and I'll say, absolutely. And, I'll just jot down some notes. And then when he goes to bed, I'll just rock it out later. Because I know there'll be a point where he'll have his own life and he won't be able to do it. And I don't do it because I have to, but I do it because I want to, because I love to. And in the same, spending time with my wife, like I'm fortunate to say that, I married my friend, that's my people's. And when, all three of us are together, we chill, but there's me and her time too. And it was a little tough at first leaving Zeke behind with a babysitter, because that's our heart. But, we would do it and we would find time to enjoy ourselves. So either as a unit or even as us, boy, do I pray and I say, God, make me a better husband, because there are times I'm like, I don't understand what she's going through right now. And before I spaz, God, it may be me. So I needed to jump in on this one. And then just going through my own literature and becoming a better man for her and becoming a better dad for Zeke. My goal is to be a bridge between information from something I may know to something you may not know. And let me just hand it off to you. Maybe a team of individuals, especially young minds. Let me brighten their light, let me help them navigate through the darkness. but you can email me so that way I can have that information. I can just respond to you. The best way to reach out to me, Alexis Beltre03 at Gmail. That's Alexis Beltre 03 at gmail.com. This is Alexis Beltre, and this is how I came up.
Hello, this is Sam Hill from Success in Me. We are excited to announce Season 4 of How I Came Up will air this November. We have educators, entertainers, and entrepreneurs this season. We can't wait to share their stories. Now let's get to it. This is how I came up.